and welcome to our first meeting after the launch of Cloud Robotics Hub. Woo! So we don't have a very strict agenda today. I can say that next meeting we are we we have Florian. I've forgotten his last name, but it's going to be a good talk. Florian Pocorni. There we go. And Florian will be coming to talk to us. And then the meeting after that, Eric Chen from UC Berkeley will be coming to talk to us. And then fingers crossed after that, I haven't asked yet because it seems like quite a way away, but I am planning to do that. We're going to invite Tomoya as well to talk about Kubernetes extending to robots at the edge. So fingers crossed we'll have a good few speaking sessions in a row. For anyone watching this recording or can't make those meetings, don't worry. We've started a new practice of cutting out the talks from the recordings, from the meeting recordings, and uploading them to YouTube separately. So if you're interested in just those recordings, you can just catch those. And we'll be putting those on Cloud Robotics Hub on the blog. Any new speaker we get, we'll put a blog post up saying who was talking, what they were talking about, maybe a summary. We've not done this a lot, so we'll figure out what's good to know. But I think a summary of the talk would make a lot of sense, so people can get interested before clicking on the video. Before I show the Cloud Robotics Hub stuff, does anyone have any stuff they want to talk about? We will have a bigger section to talk about, and also Akash is joining us for the first time, so I will give you some space now, Akash, to introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Akash. I'm with Intrinsic. It's a robotics company who's democratizing access to robotics. I'm fairly new to this group, but it's very interesting because this is something that I've been working on for a while now, especially Kubernetes with ROS and deployment in production environments, especially air-gapped environments. So dealing with Kubernetes in a completely no internet zone and a lockdown area has been very interesting in the recent past. So exciting to see a similar line of talks happening out here. So would like to join and see what else folks have done in this domain.
Thank you. That sounds like you've had some interesting experiences as well that maybe we can invite you to talk about in a future session.
Sure.
So let me share the hub for those that haven't seen it. And let's take a look. Here it is. Okay, so briefly, some of us have seen this a lot already, but we have just launched. We have no under construction sign anymore. We have a few pages, such as a blog, where we can show that people have given talks and give a summary so that people can, look through the recent posts and find talks they're interested about. And when I get to this page, I'll explain a bit more about why we're doing this. Meetings is our page for saying what we're planning to talk about, and also our backlog of meeting recordings. You should be able to find any recordings we have on this page if you're interested. And then resources as well, I want to explain from this page. So this page is our State of Cloud Robotics page. We submitted an open survey, which is still open. Anyone who wanted to participate was welcome. They still are. And these are the results we have at the moment. And we'll infrequently check up on these and update our results. But this is the State of Cloud Robotics. What's easy, what's hard, what technologies are people using. And there's a lot of stuff here, as you can see. But one of the big takeaways we had from this was that people are struggling with resources. They're struggling with best practices, and they're struggling with tutorials and so on to say, I have this problem. How could I fix it? What's the best way to do X? So that's why we've started. Well, we had guest speakers before, but we want to make more of an effort to shine spotlight on them so people can look at those talks and get some more ideas. And also, we're recording a curated set of resources so that people can come and get some ideas about how to tackle their problems. I think we have a good start on our resources page, and we also have Eric Chen again has agreed to merge all of his awesome cloud robotics resources into this page. So we should see a good expansion from that, and hopefully we can keep adding to this as we group members look at a resource and say yes, that's good, and try and give a good summary of it so that people can take a look for themselves. So that's the site so far. I realize I've been talking for a couple of minutes. Does anyone have anything that they want to ask about that? Any observations, feedback?
Just one thing that I only just noticed as you were presenting the meetings page. Can you go back to that?
Yes.
What makes it hard to parse this is there are dates, but no content, no title. And I think for somebody who just casually wants to find something of interest, it will be hard for them to find. So I think if we had like a slug or like like a short title for each session, what the highlight was, that might be helpful. If there is something, some of the meetings like this one are just sort of regular business or whatever you want to call it, right? Like us discussing about the group itself. But that, yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit of the what's the reason why I should click on that video question, right? Like there's so many videos, which one should I click on? That's kind of what went through my mind. So maybe we can think of a title. I can help with that. I can try to create a PR.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And in terms of navigation, I did want some kind of, I suppose I don't have extra links here, but normally when you've got multiple headings on a blog page, it will bring up a nav bar on the right so you can click through the headings. I would like to get that working for this page so you can just click through the dates on a nav bar on the right.
I can try to figure that out. Yeah, I think it's just a setting in Dockersaurus.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is the meetings page a markdown file right now, or is it something else?
It's not, but there's no reason it couldn't be. I just default to TypeScript.
Okay.
There's nothing special happening on this page, so yeah.
Yeah, Dockersaurus has. I think the table of content features are based on the markdown structure. So Dockersaurus may provide us with more help if we put it into markdown, but translating it into markdown should be pretty easy.
Yeah, it should be pretty quick and easy, like you said. Yeah, good idea. I didn't realize that Dockersaurus would actually work better in some ways than TypeScript, but it makes sense.
It's just, I think it's, I don't know, maybe there is a plugin for Dockersaurus that will somehow pull out the header tags and create structure from that. But of course, in Markdown, the structure is very sort of a first-class citizen, right? It's easier to parse. So anyways, either way may work. I can take a look.
Sounds good. Okay. We also have Google Analytics, which I think we want to be open. I don't know a good way of sharing that as a link. So I think a reasonable compromise is to show how the site is doing in this meeting, and it would obviously be available if anyone saw the recording, because this is stuff we don't want to hide. It's just a case of not wanting to show anything we shouldn't. And I think as it's all anonymized, that's not really a problem. But that's just, I'm trying to be cautious. So allow me to share our analytics tab. And this is where we are. Since the launch, we've had a number of active users, which may be the folks in this meeting, if you open the page yourselves. But we have had a good amount of active users in 7 days, this is. So I think that's since the site launched properly and we announced it, there's been a good number of hits on this page. I'm hoping that in the future we'll see that our resources page is getting a lot of hits, which would hopefully mean that people are finding that page useful. And as it is, I'm sorry if this is small, but our main page has the most hits, followed by our resources page. So this seems to be the page that people are interested in already.
So the Cloud Robotics Hub shows up twice. The top one has a bar behind it, which makes me think that this Okay, when you hover over it, shows something. Nobody clicked on the meetings? That seems a little odd.
We can take a bigger look at this.
I clicked on all the tabs, but that was just 20 minutes ago.
We've got one of the page doesn't look like it's coming up.
No,
does
it's the meetings page doesn't have meetings in the title.
Oh.
And that's probably another because it's not markdown kind of thing. So probably one of them, maybe the third one there, 85. That would make sense.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Yeah, that's also fixable. Interesting. And then there's a way to see where people came from. I think if you look for
this.
Yeah. Okay. So most of it is direct. Okay. Yeah.
I'm never sure exactly what these things mean. I assume that
it used to be much easier to understand until Google switched to GA4 and screwed it, like pissed everybody off, to be totally honest. They used to have a very nice like universal analytics, and then they made a breaking change where you actually lost all of your data as well, and they forced you to navigate to change. And it's so bad. There were some design students who made a movie trailer about how bad this is, and it's like an apocalyptic kind of type of movie trailer. It's very funny. If I find it, I'll send it to you. But yeah, it's not GA4 is not very popular. Very, very hard to navigate.
Please do. That sounds funny. I assume that organic social would be a LinkedIn referral link, and maybe
if you click on that little plus sign behind session primary in the column name. No, not that one. The name of the column where it says direct, yeah, that one. And then search for source, and then do session. I think somehow they all end up being the same. Try that one. Yeah, so there you can see it came.
Oh wow,
most
that's
of the
useful.
referrals came from Discourse. LinkedIn is doing pretty well. I never know what direct means because we always click on something. Nobody types in addresses anymore. Not exactly sure.
Yeah, I wonder if that just means they've got blocking in, like they're using Firefox and it blocks the referral.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah, so that's fine. But it looks like we've got a few users each from Discourse, from the Google group, and from LinkedIn. Only one from LinkedIn. I expected more, but that might be appearing in the direct.
Second from the top is LinkedIn.
Yes.
The other one seems to be some LinkedIn link shortener.
And apparently Facebook. So I'm assuming someone's posted it on Facebook and I didn't know. But that's good. We can share that far and wide.
Yeah, the other thing, I mean, we don't have enough traffic for this yet to be meaningful, but at one point we also want to look at the Google Search Console, which I personally find more insightful because there you can see the keywords that people searched for when they found your page. And you can see two things, impressions and clicks. And so you can see, even if they didn't click on your page, but your page was listed in the search results, you will still see it as an impression, at least if they scroll down to where you are. And that can be very insightful because it shows you a little bit more than what you actually get to the page. You find out what people will search for. So that could be useful for us to know, like you said, going in, right? Like what kind of resources, what type of questions do people have? And take that to Google, and then maybe or maybe not they click on our page, but at least we sort of get a peripheral view.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Is that worth doing now?
This is more like plumbing. I'd also say we'll let it run for a little bit. Not urgent, because like picking apart 50 views or something like that, it's probably reading tea leaves at this point. But once it has grown a little bit more, this will be more meaningful.
So the next point that I wanted to make about the hub is I think it would be great to start expanding this more. I think we already have the awesome Cloud Robotics stuff coming. We've got a few resources already, but I think this page will be, it's one of the main reasons we made the site, is to help people get to good resources. So I'm wondering if A, the group members can suggest good resources, so the folks in this meeting, and B, if there's something we can put on the page to encourage people to suggest resources that they found useful. So any thoughts on that?
I had a third thought, and that was a quick summary of what each of those links are. So I don't know what to click on. And I may even be willing to send you some, one sentence about each of those. Kind of like, Christian, you were just talking about search results where you get a little bit of the text of the web page and you're like, oh yeah, that's the one I want to go to, or that could be useful. It seems silly to be, redoing a search engine, but on the other hand, like I come here like, what is Robot Web Tools? Do I want it? Do I not want it? If I've never heard of it before.
It's a very good point. And we are pointing out that this is a curated list of resources.
Right.
And I think what you describe is a really valuable feature of curation.
Yeah, in the next couple of days, because I found the GitHub, and I will go ahead and make an attempt at posting some of that. And if I can't figure it out how it looks nice, I'll just send you an email with some text. So I think I can figure it out. Can't be that hard.
And one thing that's still on my agenda, on my to-do list, is to add the publication list that Eric has. I wanted to migrate it here. I haven't done that yet, but I'll try to get to it.
Great. Is that the BibTeX file that?
Yeah, I have. Well, actually, Eric hasn't sent me his BibTeX file, but I got a different one from Giovanni, and that seems to be a good start. So I'll try to add that here, and then we can expand on that. It's going to be, the way that I envision it is, it's going to be an automated thing where you just add to a file and it will automatically show up here. But I haven't gotten that set up correctly yet, so I still need to tweak it a little bit.
Great. It sounds like we're going to get quite a good expansion of resources. I hope that we can also include some stuff to help people that don't know exactly what they're looking for, help them navigate. I don't know if we could do some kind of tagging, or I'm probably thinking too far ahead here, but
yeah, I was just going to suggest like just adding some small hashtags might be helpful for people who are trying to find something on the page. They might not know what fog robotics is, for example. If it says like one word for what it is, a small tag, could even help with the search optimization when they try to search something on Google, for example.
That's not a bad idea. So almost like, so basically what Phil said, but then add to it some sort of, well, you called it a hashtag, but some sort of, almost like a category or something like that. Like we could make it a badge or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's nice. The other thought that I just had was, every once in a while I come across an article, right? Like we were talking about Tomoya. Tomoya's latest thing is log ingest, right? Like he had a post on Rust Discourse where he was using FluentBit, and you might like it, Mike, because he's ingesting everything into AWS S3 somewhere, I think. Anyways, something we can all relate to. So the thought that just occurred to me was, one feature of a community is sometimes just gathering stuff that is of relevance to the community in the news. It's a little bit like Hacker News, but Hacker News is very noisy. So I don't know how you feel about it, and I also don't know how to do that efficiently, but almost like a place where people can suggest things that they saw in the news or on the internet, that new stuff, not just, not things that were like 3 years old, but so that would be the difference to the resources that they could somehow submit, and maybe we have a very light review on it and accept or not accept contributions. Any thoughts?
Yes, great idea. I like the idea of having less formal resources. Like, these are interesting blogs that you can get more from. Here's a featured article to get you started, that kind of a thing. And I also like that people could suggest resources they found useful. Like you say, it's more of a community thing. It raises a question about how we review it. We don't want a huge amount of bureaucracy. I'm thinking maybe just the people with right access to the repo, anyone who's available can take a look and thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the submission part, because if we ask people to create a pull request, they won't do that.
No.
It would have to be more like, I mean, I'm really thinking like Hacker News, where you can literally just dump one URL, click submit, and then, you know, see what the community thinks. Not sure how to do that here, because clearly, well, I shouldn't say clearly, maybe Docusaurus has some sort of plugin for that. But because Docusaurus doesn't have a database backend of any sort, not sure exactly how that would be implemented. But yeah, I don't know how whether we can implement this idea, but I think it would be nice, right? I mean, I feel like a lot of the internet nowadays is different forms of interest-specific feeds, right? I mean, all of Reddit is essentially that, right? Like you have all of these subreddits where people talk about whatever they're interested in, and it's sort of a staple of any kind of community. ROS Discourse is basically the same, right? I mean, it's just a long feed of articles that are relevant.
I mean, maybe that's where you get your suggestions. We have a thread on ROS Discourse and just a link to it. Hey, post your suggestions here. It's lightweight. It's not quite all encapsulated. Look at us. We're this organization. It's a little, yeah, but I like it. I was also thinking your comment on posting other news actually would be great for the blog. Not or maybe the blog is talks, a summary of talks, but the blog of like, here's something, and maybe you have the actual author do it, or maybe you have a quick summary of, here's an article I saw, and this is why I think it's useful. One paragraph review of the article is a blog.
So I like that. There is a tagging feature of blogs where we can have all posts get tagged with the guest speaker come up under guest, and then if it's not a guest talk, like you found it online, we could have a different tag or just omit the guest tag. So we can have everything on one blog. We can have guest articles on the blog and just not tag them.
Okay. Yeah, just thinking when you're talking about reviews fits into this blog. It's kind of news. I think what you're trying to do, at least how I'm reading it, is the blog is a little bit less formal than the resources. It's a little bit more, this is stuff we're working on, this is what we see as cool. The resources is you go there to get stuff done. And so yeah, that's just what I'm thinking right now.
Definitely less formal. I hadn't thought of putting random, or not random, curated third-party resources on the blog. But I think it makes sense to.
Yeah. I mean, it could even be, I tried this thing and I failed, and here's how it worked, or something like that. Or this was great, but I had to modify X, Y, and Z to get it to work on my robot.
That I would definitely agree. It makes for a good blog post if one of us actually spends time trying out something. You know, I'll take Tomoya's fluent bit logging as an example. But that requires time, right? Time and work. And if we don't do that, then that may just not happen very often. So I actually agree that that would totally make for a blog post, and we want to add things to the blog post for when we do have time and the time to do that. But I think even just submitting like links of things that are interesting might. The main thing that I think is important with these communities is I think of it as a heartbeat. Like people will come to that and see like, is this alive? And of course we have the meeting, so that's good, right? There is something happening. But most people will not watch those recordings. I mean, once you see the recordings 50 minutes long, who's going to take the time to listen to four guys talking about a website, right? That's not super exciting. But if there's another reason to keep abreast of the page, or maybe even like Docusaurus is great because I think it generates RSS feeds of all of those things. So people could, I don't know, am I the only person in the room who still uses RSS? Seems like it. Okay.
Sorry, no, I know of other people that use RSS feeds as well. Like,
okay, fine. But it's very useful for if you do use it, because you can curate your own feeds. Anyways.
yes.
Okay, I think we have enough on our hands for now, anyways, right? So Phil, you said you might add some one-liners to the resource that we have. I want to add the publications, and so maybe we'll leave those other ideas for later. But I think it's definitely a good discussion to continue.
I think it would be good to add a line saying, if you have suggestions for this page, please email. I don't even know what. Do we have a group inbox? Maybe a conversation on the Google group would work.
I think there's a feature in GitHub where you can literally either create issues by email or at least respond to an issue by email. And the latter may be enough, where we basically have one issue that is just sort of one big bucket of suggestions, and people can email that. As long as that doesn't matter how cryptic that email address is, because we're going to just add a link to the website if people just click it.
I think that and the ROS discourse, just say post a post with WG Cloud Robotics on it, and we'll see it. The alternative that I thought of as well is something I do for my Docusaurus site. Is there's a plugin which the problem is what you said, right? It's a static site. It doesn't have a database. How do you submit stuff for the page? You need a third-party thing, and I found a neat way was to use GitHub's, I forget the feature name, discussion boards. It's something like that. And you can have a third-party app that links into that, so that if they connect their GitHub, then they can write a comment and it posts into that automatically. But I'm thinking we don't need to do that, but we could at least link the discussion board and say, feel free to sign in with your GitHub, go to this page, and you can request whatever you want, and we'll look at it. So that could be another avenue. I think it would be enough to have the Google group and the ROS discourse, but that's a third option that we could look at as well. So that's the hub. Any other comments on the hub before we just have a general discussion?
Well, I want to make sure that we use Akash while he's here and get him on the hook for giving a talk. It's very casual, like the way that we present here is we just, from anything, just basically a longer intro where you just speak freely what you've been working on, or, the other thing that sometimes triggers thoughts is looking at the State of Cloud Robotics survey results. And then usually what happens, I mean, you and I sort of, we share history from Saviyog, and there's so many things that we've seen. So sometimes when we, oh, sorry, Phil, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were probably just saying bye. You're just looking through the results. Sometimes, you may realize, oh yeah, we did something along those lines, and you can talk about that. It's always good to hear more perspectives.
Okay, absolutely, and happy to share. I mean, thinking of topics, there's definitely something close to heart. One of the most recent works that I've been doing is deploying OpenRMF on the cloud. So as a way of orchestrating mobile robots. And I could do a short talk on that. There's also,
we haven't heard anything from OpenRMF in this group, which feels like an omission. We should, that's great.
Yeah, there's actually, I'm talking of resources, there's a repo called RMF deployment template on OpenRMF. Let me actually join the meeting from my computer. And that walks through the whole steps of bringing up a whole Kubernetes cluster to specifically to connect to robots out in the world over, VPN, or you have an air-gapped local network. I think it's cool, not just because I wrote it, but there are people who are using it. And one of the recent ROS meetups in Singapore, people were interested quite a bit. A fair warning, this page, the main branch is a little outdated. I'm working on updating it to the latest. There's a PR open. There's a bunch of commits going in it. Yeah, I'm super excited about giving a talk on this.
Yeah, that's great, and thanks for the reminder, because we really need to add that to the resources page.
Yeah.
I don't know why it didn't. I'm guilty of that. It was my task to get us started with the resources page, and I completely blanked on OpenRMF.
And there's quite a bit of stuff apart from just OpenRMF. The deployment template, there's web tools also. So there's a whole open source dashboard for people to plug things in. And I'm sure there's going to be, we haven't put in any WebRTC streaming, but that's also, the dashboard is structured in a way where things can be plugged in easily.
That's awesome. Yeah, last time you were there when we spoke about, oh God, a year ago, something like that, about a collaboration between Transitive and OpenRMF.
Yeah.
That was great to hear you made some progress on that. We should take that offline and see whether I can help you with the WebRTC at all.
It sounds like you've got a talk idea in mind already. I wonder if we should pick your brain on survey and resources page. How helpful would you find it or how would you want to look at a resources page, or help other cloud roboticists find things they're missing?
Yeah, definitely. I think resources are very essential for getting started. I think even today, trying to find anything to just go to the cloud with a robot software is a difficult question for most robotics. So having these resources structured would be very, very helpful.
Good. Confirmation we're on the right lines. Do you have any suggestions on resources or ways that we can help people more than the resources page?
I'm not sure yet, but I think the resources page with a few sections or tags may be helpful. Like, for example, if someone wants to just figure out a way on how to get web streaming out to his dashboard. So just having a tag out there, or doesn't know how to make a secure connection between his robot and his dashboard. A few ways of doing that we have some form of tags in the text, links to that could be helpful. So what I've seen, most of the folks that struggle with is getting a secure connection out to a remote endpoint. Everything works locally, but the moment you take it out on the internet, that's where the struggles start.
Yeah, I'm writing a post on why Cloud Robotics at the moment, and that's one of the key things I'm saying you should do. At some point, you need to make a connection, and it needs to be secure, and cloud can help, that kind of a thing. But on the subject, as long as it doesn't start to overlap with your talk, do you have a good idea of how to do that? And what's your suggestion? What shouldn't you do?
So just thinking on my feet out here, let me think through on it fully. So there's a couple of relevant items also. So there's going to be a ROSCon talk on the scaling. So that's purely on scaling on production systems when you go with Cloud Robotics. So there's a talk on that, and then I guess just as a precursor to it, I could do a little bit on just getting started for folks to get started with connecting their robot out to the cloud, and at least on OpenRMF, onboarding their robot, so to speak.
That sounds good, but brings an idea to me, which is we should probably be telling people these robotics conferences are happening. I mean, ROSCon's huge. Everyone's heard of that, but there's several others, right? Like Christian, at the beginning, you posted one in the chat and said it would be interesting.
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't want to duplicate too much something that already happens elsewhere. And in particular, this one is like Kat does a very good job with the weekly news on ROS Discourse, and she has a very good list there of upcoming events. And we can perhaps see whether there's a way to cross-post that or something like that. But I don't. Yeah, I don't think we want to replicate that.
That's reasonable. The follow-up being, once a conference has happened, if one of the group members has seen it, can we summarize our thoughts, point to some interesting
right.
talks?
I mean, if I go to Actuate and I have some thoughts afterwards, I'm happy to jot them down, write a short blog post about that or something similar to what we discussed previously about summarizing the talks that we hear here. I think that's always a good thing to do.
Sorry, I'm just writing that as a note. So cross post the upcoming events. Maybe we can think about that. I didn't know it existed, so that's my excuse for suggesting duplicating it. Okay. Anyway, back to interrogating Akash.
I think we put him enough on the spot, but yeah, I mean, good suggestion with the resource. I mean, in some ways, that's exactly what people in the survey asked for. More specifically, how do I do this or that? To complete disclosure, my problem is that I'm conflicted on that because I have too many answers, but they are biased toward. I mean, there's a reason why I started Transitive, and that's a lot of them are exactly those reasons. But now I am biased, and I appear to be biased when I give my responses. So of course, the right answer for video streaming is WebRTC. But then again, I also have a product in the market that solves that, right? So that makes it very difficult for me to give the right answer. But I don't know if you guys have suggestions on how to balance that, because I want to give those answers because it is still the right answer. And I guess at least what I can do is I can point to that blog post where I describe the different alternatives for video streaming. But yeah, that's something that's holding me back a little bit. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm conflicted as well on that, because it seems like you have a lot of knowledge. You've put thought into what the best technology is, and you have good reasons for suggesting a particular one. It would be a shame if you didn't share that knowledge because you're trying not to appear biased. So yeah, I get that. I think I like the idea that we would suggest one thing. Like, you're trying to stream camera data, use WebRTC. There's other options. Here's some trade-offs. But here's the one you should use if you're not sure. I guess the only way that we can, or the best way we can avoid bias in that, is to not have you as the only person suggesting things.
I would guess having a few ways in that list might also help, because the WebRTC is great, but for a person who's a university student or like someone who's doing 2 robots, it might be a little bit of an undertaking to set up everything. So for a very naive example, if they have a sort of an IP camera set up on their robot to do streaming, a video stream, they might want to just hook it up to a computer to just view the video stream remotely. It may be a little bit of an effort to get it onboarded on WebRTC. So just throwing out as an example, where having a couple of options where WebRTC is the way to go once you're ready to scale. But if you want to do something quick and dirty, just to get your idea off the ground, it is a low effort way to do it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, maybe it's worth then actually to distinguish between options that we proposed that are there's sort of 3 categories of things: high-level approaches, right? WebRTC versus whatever RTP streams using GStream or whatever, like the sort of way you talk about the technology. The second category is open source tools that you can use. And the third category, honestly, is paid services, right? So what you just described is trivially easy with the the WebRTC capability from Transitive, but that's we don't want to. This is not that sounds like advertisement, right? So, but I guess as an option to list, we could do that. And then but I like your point. I mean, that's what I tried to do in that blog post with the 5. I don't know whether you've seen it. I wrote a blog post called 5 Ways to Stream Video from Robots and Why You Should Use WebRTC. And so I described these other categories, and there's a table comparing them. And you're right. I mean, there are, for instance, there's one category of robots that are typically tethered and somebody's on site. So those are like underwater robots for exploration. And so when in those cases, you're always on the local network, and there you really don't need WebRTC. There you can totally do like what you described, just an RTSP stream directly over your local network, and it's fine that you're using TCP. Okay, I'm diving deep, but I guess I'm just saying, yeah, that's a good suggestion. We can do it like that. Thanks.
Yeah, in fact, it brings a point to me that if you're looking for something, if you're looking for a way to solve a problem, and you go to this resources page, you can go to a category on the page and see what the options are, and maybe there's a recommended one. But something else that we could look at doing is a summary table at the top of problem you're trying to solve, and then those 3 options, and then it could link further down the page to the other resources. But at a glance, solve web streaming with X. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's actually key. I mean, the first thing that people need to know is there may be an answer on this page, so I should click on it, or I should look through it, and then I guess there's no harm in providing more resources, because they can always tune out and leave again. But as long as I think what you're saying is perhaps the most important, that we show them the categories like Akash suggested, and then at a high level, like some sort of overview of what we will describe the options are. So almost like a TLDR.
TLDR, yeah. Need to.
Was that what you meant, or did I misunderstand your suggestion?
So I may have misunderstood what you said. It sounded like what you're saying is in each category we can give a very high level one-liner bullet, a TLDR. I was suggesting that at the very top of the page, you click on the page and there is a table, web streaming. I have no money, do this. I have medium money, do this. I have high money, do this. Over the air deployments, XYZ. Next problem.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like structuring making it almost like a directory of how to find the. First of all, let me find my problem, and then just a quick way to see what options we provide answers for.
Yeah. So hopefully someone who wants, I know we keep using web streaming as an example, but they go, I need to know how to do web streaming. Great. I click on the page. There it is. I don't believe one line on a page though. There's the more options, and I can read the pros and cons that this group are telling me. The TLDR, I think we should do as well. That wasn't quite what I meant with the table.
Yeah, I get it now. Yeah, it makes sense.
I need to list out all the suggestions that we're making. This is great. I've got notes. I can do this after the meeting. I don't need to do this live and take up time. So I think maybe what I can do is I can send a quick email out maybe afterwards saying what we're planning to do to update the resources page. That should be good. Yeah, I'll take that as my action. Okay. Yeah. Any other discussion, because that's what the meetings are meant to be for. Just community stuff. So
are we going to have any birds of feather session at ROSCon?
I'm not going. I don't know that probably Giovanni is going, but I don't think, Mike, are you going?
I'm not.
No, neither am I. It's a great suggestion. We probably should have thought about that. There's almost certainly going to be one. I suspect that actually Florian and Eric and that gang is going to coordinate one, but we're not going to be there. Are you going to ROSCon?
Yes, I am.
Well, you can come back and tell us.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Words of Feather, I've seen it to connect a lot of people and have a good sharing. So it'd be good to have a session if more people are going to be on site.
I know that Matthew Hansen used to organize sessions like that in previous ROSCons. I think I can get in touch with him and see if there's one this year, and then I can let the group know. So that's another action item. I think if there were previous ones that you attended, they were probably arranged by Matt, but I wasn't there, so I can't attest to that. I just know that he tried to make it a regular thing that at least a meeting room somewhere was available for cloud robotics discussions.
At least on the website right now, they don't list it. They say that there's a Birds of a Feather sessions list on the 2024 ROSCon page, but there's only 3 that are currently. Tomoya is organizing one, talking actually about ROS2 log data. So that would be interesting. And I think that's actually the right level, right? Like you don't want to have a general meeting about cloud robotics. That's too general. But that one sounds relevant to this group. So perhaps we can somehow get a summary of that later.
That's a good thought, though. And we should, for every conference that happens, maybe we can look at if anything happened in Cloud Robotics or Birds of a Feather sessions or something, and see if we can get a summary for those or links to them. One day I'll get to go to ROSCon again. Well, we've got a few minutes left if there's anything else people want to bring up. I think I'm planning to look at that Actuate page. I won't be able to attend, but it seems interesting that Foxglove are putting this together.
Are you going to any other conferences, Mike? Are you going to, there's a bunch in the fall, right? There's this one Actuate, then there's Robo Business, and well, we already know you're not going to ROSCon, so.
This is verging on personal, but I don't mind sharing. I'm moving back to the UK next Monday.
Oh wow, exciting! Where to?
Moving back home, back to Cambridge. So nice. It's going to make it tricky with some conferences, but maybe if they're in Europe, it would make it easier to get to. So
ROSCon is in Europe, so you'll be much closer already.
That's good. Yeah. I think I may have missed the boat on tickets for that, but I could check into it. But yeah, it means that I'm not looking too carefully at conferences. A lot of the ones I've been sent, including Actuate, are not things I'll be able to attend because I'll be very busy.
Are you gonna stay with your current role, or is that coming along with a career change?
That is.
Or if you can share, I don't know.
I'm happy to talk about it. So whether or not my role stays the same, this working group is a passion project. I will be doing it no matter what happens to my employment. For Akash, I probably don't know. I work for AWS. I'm becoming a developer advocate, and I'm trying to talk about cloud robotics. But I don't bring AWS into the group. I will definitely continue doing this. My role should stay the same, but under a new manager who may wish to change its direction. So I will hopefully get to keep talking about cloud robotics in my day-to-day. But if I don't, I want to do what this group's mission is as a personal thing. So
Nice.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that change. It's always exciting and a little nerve-wracking, but changes are good. It's always what to make of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's easy to get stuck in one thing for a few years and not see the time passing by. Exciting to stretch yourself.
Cool.
All right. If there's nothing else to talk about, we can end a few minutes early, and I'll start on that summary of suggestions made to the resources. Thanks for coming, Akash. Your input was very helpful. Hope we'll see you in future sessions. No pressure.
Thank you. The session is always challenging from Singapore time because it's usually around at midnight and 1 a.m. So this was a good time to join in today.
That's a real shame.
Good to see you, Akash. I hope I see you at Actuate or somewhere else while you're here.
I'm sure we'll meet somewhere.
We usually do.
Yeah.
So
All right.
see you in a couple of weeks.
See you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.